Yeah.
Every time I hear the phrase post-COVID, I think about, remember the cereal Post Toasties? The
Yep.
from Post cereal. That's exactly what I think about. I don't know why, but you know, I know. Mary just said quietly, "You're so strange." Yes, I am. I admit it. I have no issue with it. It is what it is. She said, I have to get back to work because the sarcasm isn't working on her anymore and I'm driving her nuts. So I did try what I do with the kids. Does it look like I care? It was something Mary said, and I mean, I am still here, but you know. Barely.
You know, Dave, I think there's an opportunity for teaching to parents who are working from home and have kids who need to be put like in your neighborhood where they don't know how to teach, but you get a group of kids together. That may be an opportunity rather than substitute teaching.
And a lot of places, a lot of parents have gone to what's called pods, where they've done pretty much what you've said. My personal thing is, I don't know how their families are handling anything. And if it's anybody that I don't know directly, I just don't know. You know, I'm not sure. I talked to Jerry Weems and a few other people with stuff, our Scott Harness, our lawyer, and others. From a legal liability, it's one thing as far as teaching, but I'd be in their home. One of the kids could break something, blame it on me, and I could be legally liable because who was to say I didn't? There's so many different things, and there is no liability insurance to cover that right now. So my concern is until that's there, you know, and it's an affordable policy, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Sure. But it's a new line, Tom. That might be something you guys could come up with. You know, teaching for those teachers who have to go to somebody else's home, are they covered for liability? Because my understanding is our homeowners won't because I'm a contract employee. Their homeowners won't because of contract employee.
Well, anything you're doing for money, for compensation, is not covered. If you're doing it as a volunteer, probably. But why volunteer?
Yeah, that would defeat the purpose.
Yep.
You know, there's a market somewhere for it. I'm sure there is. I've got brokers I use that I can't think of anything they would cover so far.
Hello, Jerry.
Good morning, everyone. How are you all?
Or Papa.
Hi, Papa No.
Papa Noel, yep. That's it. That's what my nickname was at school at the end.
Ah.
That and Grandpa Nolan.
So, Grandpa, did you catch any fish last week?
Yeah, we did. We brought back 6 fish to have fresh trout. So Nolan caught 1, and he was not discouraged. Matt caught 2 or 3, and I caught a few. So we had enough to bring back. Nolan said he'd go again, which is unusual. I mean, a lot of times when people go trout fishing for the first time, if they aren't right away successful, they don't really care to go back. So it was a good time. It was a real good time.
Good.
Enjoyed it a lot.
Tom, how's Joy doing?
Joy's doing well. I'm just keeping my ears open. She's still resting, and she's in the room next to me. So if I hear something, I may say, see you later, because I want to take good care of her.
Yep.
You did
Yes,
well,
sir.
though. They gave a nerve block from the waist down, and so the anesthesia was a lot less. It didn't mess her up, you know. In other words, in recovery, she was just perfectly fine, wasn't groggy or anything. So,
Tom, what did she have?
She had a full knee replacement
Okay.
on Monday, and she came home late yesterday afternoon. So she's doing well.
Where'd she have it done?
Up at Mercy in West County, and she's doing well. She got home and she went up the stairs last night.
Oh,
Doing well.
Is this her second one, Tom?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
So,
You going out biking this weekend?
no, but the dishes are piling up, so we're starting to.
That's
Dave's
why
available.
paper plates are good. I'm just saying.
Wonderful.
You know what? Things haven't changed. I'm still the 3/4 of the cook, and so she cleans the house and I cook and
Yep.
empty the trash can once every month or two.
You might have to clean, Dave. That's,
Yeah, I know. But she's doing well, and looking forward to getting out and doing things in 4 to 6 weeks.
Well, Mitch, it's yours. I just set it up. So.
All right. Let us begin. Imagine you just heard the bell. Let's start with the pledge. Got anything? All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pretty good.
Glad to see all of you here this morning joining us. And we got updated on a few things, I hear. So my thoughts are with Joy as she recovers.
Thank you.
Happiness for Brian and his family as they celebrate a future daughter-in-law. My daughter is back in school and doing her student teaching, so she's met her students and they're in person. So she'll be she's at a Lutheran school up there in the Chicago area, so she went one day this week, met everybody, and then officially she starts next week.
That's the last thing she needs before she graduates, right?
Yeah, she just needs one semester of this and
Get it under her belt.
should have a graduate in December. Bill, I hadn't heard anything on Ted. Have you heard anything?
Yes,
this week?
I'll give you a report. I spoke with him yesterday,
Good.
and he's in good spirits. He sounded good. We talked for quite a while about baseball and Rotary, and I think if anybody can find a few minutes to call him, I think it really lifts him up. It was quite a good day.
Good.
Excuse me, I got a cough. My allergies.
Do we have his phone number out there for?
I will put it in the newsletter. I'm writing a note down now.
Here,
I'll put
I've got
in
it
the
right here.
newsletter. Okay.
If I can find it.
Oh, shoot.
Area 636-812-2009. Now that goes directly to him.
Okay. Was that like a landline, or do you know?
It's a landline, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Perfect.
Hey, Bill,
Yes.
just a little sideline. I called David Atkins at the Missouri United Methodist Foundation and told him about Ted last week or so. Because Ted's probably the greatest number of donations in the Methodist Church in Missouri a lot of them to Mount Zion Church, but he has a whole lot of things that he's donated over the years there, which is really impressive. So anyway, David's aware that he's there.
Thank you. Bob, how's your son doing?
He's doing pretty well. He gets his 100-day biopsy Labor Day week. He's coming along. He's got a long way to go to recovery. I mean, we went out. He came up and joined us for a couple holes of golf Sunday, and it's a struggle. And he went back home. I think I told you all he bought a golf cart, so he and his daughter came up and joined Becky and his son Jack for a couple holes. But He's doing fine. Jack had his 16th birthday on Sunday, so we all went over there for pizza in their driveway. We really aren't into their house, but the COVID situation. But yeah, it's just a matter of time. He's just going to have to build up strength, and hopefully the 100 days comes back with great news, just like the 30-day did. So, but thanks for asking.
Good to hear. Hello, Jack. Anybody else have any important info?
Well, not really important, but my assistant, who's been with me now for about 1.5 years and is a blessing to me, has been in the hospital the last 2 weeks. She had a lump removed in March, and wasn't too bad. They thought they got it all. It was in one lymph node, so that required some further work. And so she started chemo in February. First 2 treatments caused no problems at all. And then the third treatment she had a week ago, 2 weeks ago yesterday, or 2 weeks ago Monday. And by Tuesday morning, she couldn't move and it was in severe pain. And at some point, they transferred her to Christian Hospital up north. And they determined after about 4 days that it was a systemic infection from her port where she gets her chemo. And she's still in the hospital, still can't get up. So I've been dealing with either working by myself or hiring temps. And I've got a good temp that's working this week. She worked with me a couple weeks ago, and then this week and next week. And then I'm scrambling again. But she is improving now, at least. My assistant's name is Ida. And she's about 56. And she's very happy to be in a 1-chair office with one dentist and not a whole big crew of folks. So I'm hoping she can get better and get back in, because I don't want to work too hard, and she appreciates that. So.
Well, we will keep her in our thoughts and prayers.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else new?
One quick question. Has it agreed that we'll move the board meeting to the 8th rather than the 1st?
I'm good.
It seemed like that came through. Okay. I'll go ahead and change it. Thank you.
Sure. Sounds good. All right. So Brian and I are the program. So Brian, you lead.
Quick. That's nice.
I have to quick duck away for just a second. So Brian, you take the show. I'll be right back.
So we were asked to talk about how our businesses have adapted to COVID, but also Dave and Todd, you guys should chime in too on things that you've had to do on that. I kind of went through my timeline on stuff, and it's started off. Remember at the very beginning they said no mask, that it's not beneficial. So we started off with no mask. Of course, they were, in retrospect, I think they were looking at not having mask. It doesn't help protect you. Well, it does help protect others, and that's why they went to that. So the main things I've been looking at the CDC guidelines and the county guidelines, and then the pharmaceutical associations have some guidelines that try to follow, CDC stuff too. And of course, they've changed quite a bit over the time. But when everything kind of started shutting down, we obviously went to mask, but we also went to only curbside pickup and delivery. Uh, so curbside people would just pull up in front or in our parking lot or in front of the store, and we'd bring things out to them. And that, to be honest with you, worked pretty well. It made it really hectic and busy, but it worked really well. It protected people. We had a lot of people asking if they could come in, and we kept telling them no, no, no. And then when the county allowed people to start open up a little bit, we went pretty. I was looking at some guidelines through the American Pharmaceutical Association, and obviously we put restrictions. You have to have a mask, and we also are only allowing 2 people in the store at a time. That's a little bit hard to enforce because a lot of people kind of, when you're busy on the phone and someone's working with a patient and someone walks in and they're halfway down there, and it's kind of hard to chase them out. But some people read the sign and they observe it, and some people, we catch them early. We just ask them to wait outside until someone else leaves. I just feel like the less amount of people you have in there, the less chance of spreading, and easier it is to social distance. Another thing that we've done from the beginning that takes about 15 minutes every morning is to sanitize, wipe down everything. So the doors, any countertops, the phones, the computer, the keyboards, and just staplers, everything. And then we have to, you're at your workstation, so you're the only one touching that pretty much. But at the cash register where people are on, we wipe that down between every patient that uses it. We try to get them not to touch it. So we've taken a lot of credit cards and put it in our system. It codes it in the system, so they're encrypted, and they don't have to touch anything if we can keep them from touching anything. They don't have to sign. The insurance companies used to require us to get signatures to show people picked up prescriptions, and they've waived those for the time being. So we're, as a general rule, they're not touching anything unless they don't want us to do anything with their credit cards. So then they're touching that, so that we have to wipe that down every time. And we got hand sanitizer everywhere. Got it at all workstations, by the cash register. When you first walk in the door, sign, please use hand sanitizer. So different things. And then one of the things that's, as far as the precautions you take, besides that, just how it's affected our business, it's the phone calls. That's what's, I don't know, it's probably increased 30% our phone calls from before. So it just makes, we're busy on the phone anyway, so now the phones just never stop ringing. So
what's the reason for the increased calls?
Well, some of it is, because we're still doing the curbside. So some of it is people calling saying I'm here, and some of it is, questions. Do you have thermometers? Do you have face masks? Some of it is just elderly people that are lonely, that are, you're our patients, and they're making excuses to call.
Brian, I just want to talk to you.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say. So it's the phone calls just keeping us busy all the time, and I don't know, it's just everything. When this first started, we were so busy because everybody was stocking up. They thought that we were going to have to shut down, and everybody was calling stock up. So those first 3 weeks, it wasn't something that hurt us as far as the business is concerned, but it made it difficult for us. I was there many hours, long hours, trying to keep caught up. You know, I'd like to say that the insurance companies are understanding and they increase their reimbursement rates so that we can actually make some money off of them, but that's not really the case. But you know, but since that time, things have kind of gotten back to normal. And then with Schnucks being sold out to CVS, we've got a lot of patients that have switched over from that because CVS is struggling as far as their patient care right now, and it's hurting them nationwide. CVS has been written up in some of the national magazines as the worst place to work for. Yeah, you know, they as far as for pharmacists are concerned, there's no emphasis on patient care. They understaff them and everything else. And
what was the reason for Schnuck selling?
Could be a couple things. Schnucks did not actually own those pharmacies. They were contracted out. And my guess is they got too good of an offer. Second, you know, the last few years, reimbursement rates from insurance companies have come down tremendously. I would say that pharmacies throughout the country, their margins have come down considerably, and you're seeing a lot of independents close actually because of that. I've told Sue, I've never worked so hard and made so, you know, a reimbursement so low that you're making less and working harder. But you know, that's just the way the industry is right now. The insurance companies, you know, to me it's under the auspices of trying to save money, but I don't know. I think it's more about them making money.
Yeah.
To an extent. I just feel that the patient care, it puts more strain on giving good patient care. You're understaffed, you have less time, and there's no incentive to give good patient care a lot of times. That being said, we do our best.
I'd encourage you to put a tip jar out by the cash register, Brian.
There you go.
Because you get great personal care at your place rather than any of the other choices.
Well, thanks, but you know, we tried that during when we were doing the curbside delivery thing. We put a tip jar by the cash register, and nobody
put anything in it. Yeah.
Well, they weren't inside the store.
Yeah.
Oh, dang, we got to work out those logistics. So, and then, you know, we're trying to find thermometers. You know, of course, you know, our wholesaler just dried up on those instantly. And face mask and sanitizer and Lysol wipes and gloves. And gloves has been the one thing that I've been able to occasionally get in. Thermometers, a group of pharmacies end up going through some outside source and bought them. I don't know what company they got them from, but they say made in China on them, and they act like they're made in China too. They're not the best thermometers I'd buy, but we got them, and it helps some people anyway. Hand sanitizer, you know, to buy a couple gallons of that when this stuff came out was, I think I paid $85 a gallon for the first 2 gallons I bought.
Oh my God.
And of course now it's more readily available, but you know, we needed it in the pharmacy. You know, I was searching all the places, and you know, if any of you guys ever find a place that's got Lysol wipes or Clorox wipes, let me know.
Let you know if there's any left after I finish.
But I found some online finally, and they were $20 a container, and I bought some just so we could.
The little containers.
Yeah, exactly. So we bought some of those. So those are getting us through for the time being. But hand sanitizer is more readily available. So that's helping out pretty good. You know, so, you know, it's busier. it's hectic. It's more stressful, but you know, I'm thankful, very, very thankful that, you know, we're in you know, I feel blessed that it hasn't shut us down at all. It hasn't affected, it's not putting a strain on keeping the pharmacy open or anything like that. So, you know, I talked about some of the hardships we had, but believe me, we're not complaining because it's, you know, I'm just happy that it hasn't affected us like it's affected a lot of people.
Brian, based on your patient base, how many virus cases have you heard of?
We've had 3 patients die. Actually, a 4th one yesterday I heard about. 3 of those were in their upper 80s or 90s and had been in a nursing home as of last few, you know, couple years. So kind of technically they were former patients because once they're in a nursing home, they're getting them through a nursing home pharmacy. And one patient, our first patient, died, was in his 60s, and he had some respiratory issues. He was in and out of the hospital before COVID, and he got it, and he died pretty quick, actually. But it was that was our hardest case, I guess. And then the other patient was elderly, lived at home and stuff, and got it and died complications thereafter. So we've just had 5 die. Probably had, that we know of, probably had a dozen or so other patients that have had it. So, you know, that's one of the main reasons I think we have to keep our social distancing down quite a bit in the stores, because we have a lot of elderly, a lot of compromised patients that come in the store, and we don't want multiple patients coming in each other or to us, because you know, I'm not sure, I haven't looked in a long time on what's going to happen, what we need to do if somebody in the store catches it, because at the beginning the recommendations were we shut down, but we haven't had it come across. I probably need to look at those recommendations again just in case, but it wouldn't be good if anybody in the store got it.
So would you be able to transfer your things to another medicine shop and they could take care of it?
Yeah, we could do that. You know, you would end up losing business over it. That's for sure.
Right.
You know, we have some part-time people that work once in a while, and they might be able to help keep work in the store and keep things open. But it just depends how the case ended up being, if someone were to get it in the store. So that's that. And then at some point, if we have time, I'd like to talk about last week's program too.
I think you can take that time right now.
Go for it if you want.
Okay. So I know not everybody made last week, but it was RX Outreach was the name of the company, and they were a spinoff from Express Scripts. So I'm always a little skeptical when anything comes from Express Scripts. But you know, I don't. You know, they were invited to speak to our club, and I didn't want to ask questions to put them on the hot spot. And I think that'd be unfair to them. And just to balance some things out, you know, some of the things that they're doing, I think, are very good things. I can tell you, though, I looked at their list of medicines that they're offering and the price that they're charging, and they're not losing money on those prescriptions at all. They may not be making what they would make if they were, you know, if they're basing their prices on what like Walgreens and CVS charges, yeah, they're saving people money. A lot of their stuff that they're charging quite a bit more than we would charge, just to regular cash patients, regardless of income. Not having to deal with insurance companies probably makes staffing a lot easier. You know, there some of the things that they have, they've got some good prices on. And some of the things that they're selling below what it would cost any pharmacy. So and it was some specialized type thing. So I'm sure they've got an arrangement with the manufacturer where they have maybe some patient assistance programs that they're getting on that. So, but you know, something that just kind of struck me a little bit is they said that they got a bunch of inhalers donated to them that were short dated. If you remember them saying that, and selling them for $12 each. Well, it's like, well, you're going to be guaranteed $12 income on every prescription. You know, they're not losing money on that, even after staff and things like that. You know, to me, it would be better just to, if you get them donated, then give them away if your objective is to get free medications into people.
Yeah.
But the bottom line to me is, you know, I always look at pharmacy as two things. You know, you've got the product, the prescription product, and you got pharmaceutical care.
Mm-hmm.
They're two different things that the pharmacist should be offering. And they're definitely getting the product to people at decent prices, you know, so it's not like they're gouging anybody. So they're doing a good job with that. But there is no mention on pharmaceutical care at all about any type of screening for drug interactions, allergies, compliance, just all the different things that a pharmacist should be doing. And also, they're only doing certain medications, they're not seeing the whole picture either. So someone could be taking, you know, a brand name drug and getting it from one pharmacy, and then they're turning around and getting a similar drug from another pharmacy from two different physicians, and therefore you have a big drug interaction that could be life-threatening. So it's, you know, I just think that it's not good care overall.
And Brian, I hope you did take no offense at having them as a speaker. It was not, I thought about that. Unfortunately, I thought afterwards. I'm just looking for speakers. So sorry, that's what we got.
No, I'm fine with that. I was actually pretty interested to see what they had to say. I was not aware of them whatsoever. And you know, I think if they could make some tweaks to their program, you know, it could be very beneficial to a lot more people. But you know, they are getting the product out there at a good price, and that's beneficial to some. And you know, and some of the stuff that Walgreens and CVS charge, if you don't have insurance, is just outrageous. So, so anyway, it's just try to give more of a balanced approach to it too, I think is the thing, and try to look at your overall pharmaceutical care as the big picture, and you know, you don't want to spend more than you need to, but you also want to make sure that you're getting good care and spend it right, because if you save a couple bucks and end up doing the emergency room visit, you haven't really saved anything.
Yep.
Okay, I'll get off my soapbox.
Thank
I
you.
will say that's why I came back to you. You know, I tried that pill pack thing, and that didn't help me at all, and it was more expensive, and I didn't feel like I was getting very good care, and so that's why we came back to you. So that's you're my hometown pharmacist, buddy.
Thank you.
Amen. Amen. Any other questions for Brian? Hearing none. I guess most of you have, I think through the months, you've heard a little bit about what we've been doing here at the funeral home, but every day, of course, being in the funeral business, every day and every family is a different experience anyhow. But during COVID, when we were shut down to the 10 people, we had a lot of families that were okay with that. We were able to just have the very immediate family here, have a short visitation, usually an hour, and then have the minister. And then we've done quite a few Facebook Live services, allowing other folks to watch. There's a lot of companies out there that are offering a little more catered live streaming, where you actually invite people in and have kind of like Zoom, only it's for the live stream. But we just have felt like the cost of that just doesn't outweigh using the simple Facebook option. So we've kept that for families that wanted that. I've only used Zoom once so far. I will be using it again on Saturday. I have a family that was, they don't want this service out there on Facebook, but they have several family members that can't make it. And so we're going to set up a Zoom session. So we're starting about 30 minutes early, because that's what I learned the last time as I set up the Zoom session to start as the funeral started. But then realized that the family wanted to interact with the people on Zoom. So Saturday, I'm starting the session 30 minutes early, and I'll have the iPad set up in a part of the chapel where people can go up and actually talk and visit with the people that are on Zoom. And then we'll flip it around and let the people on Zoom watch the service. The first time I used Zoom for service, I was actually bringing in the speaker was in Massachusetts, not able to make it for their family funeral and to be able to conduct it. So we actually set up, I had 2 Zoom sessions going on here. In our office, I had set up the primary user so that we could put it on our screen and run the sound through our sound system. And then I had another iPad in the room to actually video everything. And then we had to flip it so that there were some things live going on at the funeral home that then the people on Zoom needed to be able to see. So we flipped back and forth, and that was a very that was a complicated Zoom session. So, but we got through it. I try to keep things casual when we're in those settings and let everybody know that we're in new territory. Please bear with us. There might be some technical glitches, and we'll just take a pause and figure it out. And most people are very understanding. We have, like Brian said, we spend tons of time wiping things down and keeping things safe. During the lockdown, we pretty much nobody used registered books, prayer cards, that kind of stuff, because you only had 10 people here. Once we opened up back without restrictions, or with limited restrictions, I guess right now we're at, if we have a visitation, it's supposed to be 50 people or less in the gathering. And if it's a religious service, memorial religious service, then it's 25% of our occupancy. So we have that calculated out to be 75 people. So if they have the visitation the hour before the service, it's considered part of the service, and so we can accommodate 75 people. We have our pews all marked off. Every other one is closed. Most services run 40, 50 people. I've had a couple of big ones. I had a big one last Saturday that I had to actually have people seated behind the pews, isolated, but we made it. We got everybody in and safe. We require face masks. We required that from the very beginning, but I was really glad when the county made it a rule, because it took it off of us. Because, you know, some people look at you like you got 4 eyes when you tell them to put on a mask. So we was glad to take that out of our hands. We do not allow any food or drink brought in the building. So that's a big part of the funeral process in St. Louis in the last 10 years is, you know, having a lounge. Let me add power here. Had to, so not being able to have the socialization of being able to be around a table with food and drink has been a change that I look forward for it to get back to a little bit more of that social time that's healing for people to have. So right now we had to convert our lounge, which is on our main level at the front of the building. We push tables together, and that is our conference room now, so that we can have plenty of room for people to spread out and safely make arrangements. We try to have people only bring 3 family members in to make arrangements, but a lot of times that's just not enough to accommodate families and allow them to plan. Done some planning online, phone calls. Haven't done a Zoom meeting yet. We've been able to just do it with phone calls and emails. I have a DocuSign account now, so I can send forms out. You can fill them out, send them back to us electronically, and it be legal. During the lockdown, I had 3 very large families that we had to try to accommodate. So they came in for like we put it on them to figure out how to break down the family into units and schedule time in, but they would come in 15-minute, 20-minute increments, spend a little time, no overlap between family members. And then the day of the service, we actually, I think I shared this with most of you, but we actually took the casket outside, set it up between our 2 canopies on the west side of our building, and announced that there would be a drive-through, which then allowed the family members that had come and not seen their other cousins and family members to be able to drive through and greet one another. So for those families, we just set up separate areas in the parking lot, and we just let them kind of be in their groups of 6 to 10, and people could drive through and pay their respects and move on. We didn't do any kind of register book or any of that. We just tried to keep everybody safe. Had to make sure everybody stayed in their cars that were driving through. You'd be surprised how many people wanted to stop and get out and hug people. And I said, no, please stay in your car. We're trying to keep everybody safe. Most of those folks didn't have masks on during that time period. So now that masks are normal, it's getting a little easier. If we would have to do a drive-through, it probably would work a little better. But now that we've got the ability to have people in the building, that's not necessary. The other thing that we've done to try to keep people safe is, now that we're open and we're having visitations and things, is we actually have the guest book at our front desk, and we have one of our staff members greet everyone, ask them how they would like their name in the book and address, and we put it down in the book for them. So we're not passing pens around. We're actually doing a better job of recording who is present which then if for some reason we would have any kind of an outbreak, we know that the family's guest book is accurate and we'd be able to backtrace through things. So that's, other than the same problems that everybody else has had with trying to get supplies, our costs for things are 4 to 10 times what they were before the outbreak, as far as just regular, what we pay for gloves and sanitizers and so forth. So we actually put I'm sure, Brian, you couldn't possibly do this, but we actually put a COVID-19 surcharge, compliance charge, just to help cover our extra costs. So we charge every family just a little bit more than what we had been. And it's a temporary charge while we're experiencing extra costs.
Back in January, right before school started up, I went up to Costco, picked up a 5-pack of 150 per pack per tub Clorox wipes. Figured, oh, this will last me,
Years.
I could make a fortune right now selling those,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to, because we need them somewhere along the line. But yeah, it like you said, I bought PPE for school, and the cost, I spent over $300 on face shields, gloves, and the 3-ply disposable masks. It's unbelievable what the cost is anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy. And for a while you couldn't find it. That's what, what Brian was saying. It was insane. Our Funeral Directors Association did a great job of stepping up during this time. The Missouri Funeral Directors Association spent hours and hours of pulling supplies together and making them available to our members, trying to get things together, and just you just have to listen. And I spent tons of time on social media and scouring the internet. I have some body bags that are being shipped to me now that I ordered in April that they promised would have been here a long time ago. The good part was I got a good price because they just now finally getting here. But we needed those on hand because of the COVID. And I should bring that up. We've actually only handled 5 COVID cases, and we've had about 70 funerals during this time period. We're a little bit over 110 cases for the year, and I think we were probably about 35 when mid-March COVID crisis started. So all of our cases have been nursing home cases, and they have all been someone in their mid-80s all the way up to 104.
Has that less now because of the, or is it still?
Yeah, I haven't had a COVID case in probably 2 or 3 weeks.
So it was all earlier on.
Well, I actually had nothing for the first month. It was May before I actually had my first deaths. And then they came boom, boom, boom. And one lady that died up in Chicago at a nursing home that we were handling, that took died in the city proper, and it was complicated to get her out of their system, embalmed, and then we actually drove up there and picked her up and brought her back rather than trying to figure out how to get her on a plane and all that stuff. So it was close enough. And then I've only had one other one since then. So And we've been able to, once they're properly embalmed and dressed and sanitized and so forth, we've had visitations for all of them. Not an issue.
I stopped the video
Okay.
Any other questions for anybody? Well, we're almost 8 o'clock, so Dave, do we have a program next week, or are you still working on?
I've got something I will be doing,
Okay.
but I need to start to put September together. So I've sent some emails out. I'm going to follow up again. But if anybody else has ideas, send them to me or something.
Yeah,
So,
I do have an idea. I'll send you a note.
Okay.
I was trying to get it lined up, but you might have a little more time. So there's that new Zion Lutheran Church there on Dorset Road opened a coffee shop
Oh, okay.
at a lower level as a part of their ministry, and I think it would be kind of cool to interview them and see what that's all about.
Where's that,
Just
Mitch?
thought,
Where's that?
Zion Lutheran Church on Dorset Road. It's probably quarter mile east of 270 on the north side. It's a very older church in that Emmanuel Lutheran actually started a school there probably 130 years ago when the kids didn't have enough time to walk all the way over to Emmanuel. And so they put a satellite school there, and then eventually a church was found there. But it's a small little church, but they've got a new younger pastor, and he was doing coffee shop ministry by just going to one of the local Starbucks and hanging out and letting people know on Facebook and stuff that he was there to help and talk and visit, and just they decided to convert their lower level. They put a ton of money into the place, put in a new entrance and all kinds of things. So it'd be interesting to hear their story and what's going on with that. So.
I just jotted it down. I'll get a hold of them and
Okay.
see what
Cool.
we can come up with.
All
Hey, can I
right.
put something in?
Yes.
I have access to limited amounts of masks, gloves, and some spray that's the equivalent of better than Lysol. So if anybody's interested, let me know, and my cost is your cost. So plus shipping, just so I cover that. But it's available out there. I don't have any wipes at this point.
What kind of mask are they, Dave?
To be honest, they're calling them medical style masks, packs of 50 for $26.50. This was last week's price. I'd have to get a fresh price. And then they've got N95 masks. I haven't seen pictures of these for a pack of 10 for $9.50. Gloves, packs of 100 for about 26 bucks. Nitro gloves, packs of 100 for 27. I don't know if these prices are anywhere near anything what you guys pay. Disinfectant spray is about $6 a can, but it's a case of 12. But that stuff will kill everything. So
The gloves are grossly overpriced.
okay.
In what we can get, but
Like I said, it's nothing I normally do. I wasn't going to bring stuff in for sale because it, the minute I would, it wouldn't sell.
Right.
we're having trouble getting a mask in.
So this will be the new normal for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you do what you got to do. I bought a voice amplifier that will rig up as a over the head speaker, and then it just hangs on around my chest so that people can hear me, because you could tell you couldn't hear me. But that's going to be the new normal, and it's going to do wonders for my hairdo. Oh, never mind. But these things,
What hairdo?
You
yeah,
should
I
have
know.
hair attached to that mask.
These things were, I ordered 40 of them. They're like $3 a throw. I'm hoping they'll last at least one day, but I've got quite a few masks that I've ordered because I'll wind up going through them. I know I'll use them 2 or 3 a day. Just, they're going to get wet with perspiration, whatever it might be. And it's just, I've got plenty with me.
So Dave, St. Charles, you're having in-person school on campus school?
They are doing the current plan, subject to change again, but the current plan is that they allowed the students to pick either virtual for the first semester or in person. And yes, they're anticipating the class size to be 25 per room, just like normal. There's no way on earth you can get 6 feet. You can't even get 3 feet between kids. So again, Jack, as you know, through DESE and everything, I'm required to work 2 days to cover my stuff for St. Charles to stay employed for the year and to show that I don't have to recertify with DESE. I've got 2 days scheduled, one on September 1, one on September 11. And I don't know what's going to happen after that, but they're not planning on us doing any virtual. When the virtual teachers get ill, now the virtual will still be teaching from the building. But when they get ill, who are you going to use? Because they're not training the subs on it. I mean, this is just St. Charles. I don't know anywhere else. So it's going to be interesting. It really is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I don't think a lot of things were thought through. This is the 4th change in plans they've had since August 1st.
Wow.
And they're still expecting to go 100%. They were expecting, as of the last numbers I heard, they had over 30% choose virtual. They were expecting no more than 5 to 10%. So a lot more chose virtual, which put a big crimp in the plans that the superintendent's office and the board had figured out. So it's going to be different. We're just going to have to play it out and see what happens.
Well, my granddaughter had her first day as a senior at Whitfield yesterday, and there's 3 of them in her class that are virtual, and she has to go virtual because of her dad. So does Jack. But she said she'd raise her hand to talk, but the problem is they were projected behind the teacher, and the teacher couldn't see them, and the sound wasn't too good. So they'll work through those things, but there's challenges around there when they're doing all of this.
I saw Notre Dame University. They started August 10th, and they're already shutting down because they've had 146 students test positive. So they're going to virtual right now for 2 weeks.
Notre Dame, NC State, and North Carolina.
Paul indicated that they are going 100% virtual at UMass. They're for at least the first semester. They're anticipating the whole year being virtual. But Massachusetts is handling things totally different than other places are doing. So that I think that makes a difference too. So he's still teaching robotics virtual. They're arranging for the labs to spread everybody out and get 2 or 3 people in on 1 hour a week. You can rotate your lab time through. So it wouldn't be labs Tuesdays, Thursdays like you'd be used to. It would be, you've got 1 hour on Tuesday afternoon, and that's going to be it. So he would be there for a longer time to work with them, but the lessons would all be virtual, and the hands-on portion would be in the lab, during that time frame.
Well, at Central Methodist, we had 700 that we tested as they were coming in. Probably we'll have close to 1,200. I think we had 8 cases, but then we had an international, I'm assuming it was soccer player who traveled in, and he was tested positive. So now I think both the male and female soccer teams are quarantined until they get through that. So, but the interesting thing is we have our all-time high enrollment this year with all that's going on, which is kind of very surprising. We hope it holds.
Yeah.
Well, Jack and Ann and Jerry will know this. Kids have been sent to school sick before. They're sent with the flu and all of this stuff. They're sent, give them Tylenol. St. Charles, at this point at least, is saying we're requesting the parents to self-monitor. If the kids are sick, please keep them home. The satirical, very jaded outlook I have is it didn't work in past years. Don't expect it to work this year either. So again, my guess is, and it is strictly a guess, that we will be virtual before the end of September, simply because of how things are being handled. And that
There will be an outbreak.
Yep. Well, there already is. Our principal has COVID.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Has not been in the building, fortunately, but he has COVID.
And St. Charles West had a couple of athletes and a teacher/coach, and
Yep.
oh
You haven't put 700 kids in the building yet,
no,
or even 500. So anyway, I know we've gone over. Sorry.
It's all right. It's good to visit with everybody.
Yeah, this is my social time for the week. So give me a break.
Okay.
Just call me at the pharmacy, Dave.
Do what?
Just call me at the pharmacy.
Don't tempt me. I might. It's bad. It's pretty bad when you wind up going to the grocery store so you can talk to people. I mean, this gets pathetic after a while. So
Sometimes it's just to get out, to take my wife to the grocery store to get out of the house.
pretty much. Y'all take care. And I'll
See
send
y'all.
you over the weekend like always.
You next.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks.